So as of now, it's 2024, and it's election time again, which I feel like when I start first getting into this stuff, I was like really excited for it, but now I'm terrified. It's neither here nor there, but the reality is that this is the time that we're in now, so let the pandering begin.
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
listen, I just want you to know people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people again.
Okay. Is it working?
It's a chance I might talk about stuff like this a lot going forward, at least this year, because of how much is going to ramp up, but it's extremely important to be aware of. Because it's insane not only how much it happens, but like specifically who it happens to. One thing that I've noticed when it comes to politicians is that when they want to push forward some initiative, half the time it's just a bunch of BS, but regardless, they want to push it nonetheless, is they will always make black people the poster child for it. So if the government creates some type of, let's just call it a shot, in about, I don't know, maybe like 2 minutes, and then they want to forcefully make the entire country take it just off the simple fact that we're the government and we told you what the hell to do, and we don't want any ifs, ands, or buts about it. We don't want any questions. We just want you guys to listen to us. When that starts to fail, I've noticed so much how they dig into their bag, their old reliable bag, and they pull out this one thing almost every single time. And it's, if you don't do X, Y, or Z, or if you do this, right, you're going to hurt black people in a bunch of crazy ways that half the time they just make up on the spot. And the older I get, I feel like I become more aware of it. But somebody sent me this video, and I think they did it on purpose because they knew it would piss me off. I watched this video, and there's so much wrong with it already. Like, before this person even starts talking, I don't even know what to call this person. You know, the time that we live in, I don't even know what to call this person. But there's so much wrong with it already. But then once they start talking, I just sit there and I roll my eyes in my head because I can't actually do it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, the weather is now racist.
Climate change is having a disproportionate effect on the physical and mental health of black communities. Black Americans are more likely than white Americans to live in areas and housing that increase their susceptibility to climate-related health issues. And 65% of black Americans report feeling anxious about climate change's impact. Through our Office of Climate Change and Health Equity and the Office of Environmental Justice, we're working with providers and community leaders to identify innovative approaches that empower communities to address the health consequences linked to climate change. Visit hhs.gov for more information and tune in next Thursday to hear from another HHS leader on how you can contribute to advancing better health for black communities.
I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say, right? First off, like I said, I'm not entirely sure what you call this individual anymore. This is a person who used to be a man who's now a woman, but I don't know, like, the name that they want to go by. So I'm just not going to refer to this person by any specific whatever, because I'm going to just get confused along the way, and it's not even the purpose of what it is that I'm trying to talk about. Just look at the background, right? Just look at the background. This is like typical politician stuff, you know? When they're signing Juneteenth into law, they got to have like an entire black choir singing in the background while they're inking in that signature to make it a federal holiday. But just look at the background. I mean, how much more black can you get? You know, the red and yellow and green and the various geometric shapes is like, we're already off to a fantastic start. It's just so crazy to me. It's so crazy to me how routine it is. And this is for any issue that the government wants to put forth, regardless of if it has any validity or not. That's not even the point of contention, right? Because once again, as I talked about, every single issue known to mankind is split down the middle. So in this situation, climate change is split down the middle. Half the people think it's crazy, half the people think it's real, and we're all going to be screwed in the next 2 years. But regardless, if the government can't get people to unequivocally follow them, no questions asked, they go to this almost every single time, which is, if we make the situation seem like it is like 1,000 times more worse for black people and we pretend to care about them, well, then everyone else will be like, oh, okay, well, it's hurting the minorities the worst, so we gotta strap in and do something about it. And that's a problem because it is just that it's disguised as them caring. Now, the government, they have so many resources. There's so many things that they can fix or address and make it better. They just choose not to, because if things are going well, then what can you run off of? What can you campaign off of if things are going well? So instead, they just let everything go to hell. Wow, that rhymed. That was kind of cold, low-key. I ain't gonna fake it to you. They just let everything go bad. And when I look at this stuff, I just don't even understand how people can buy into this at all. Right? I don't get it. And then it translates to November, and it makes me sad because, like I've said it before, is people will still go out in waves and vote for certain people or certain initiatives in which they've demonstrated that they do not care to test us or challenge us mentally, intellectually. They don't care about people's input on policy. They understand that they can do the bare minimum and then disguise any efforts to make life better and to show that they care about the well-being of people. And then when you break it down, certain communities, as a disguise just to push forth any initiative that they want to do. So you see this video, you start feeling bad for black people because apparently the weather is only concentrated on effing them up. Well, then guess what? Now every single car is going to be electric in 2 years because now everyone feels bad because I guess black people are under attack by the natural elements that hover around, I don't know, everybody. Now, this is not to say that there aren't discrepancies when it comes to how certain things affect certain groups of people based on availability of supplies or resources, the amount of money that's in a certain community, etc. But then there's also so many more different nuances of things that I've talked about before when it comes to personal responsibility that are never taken into account when it comes to the United States government and how they talk about this stuff. Everything on the planet, at least by their standard, is just something that attacks black people. We just sit here helpless and we have no control over our lives whatsoever. And everything bad going on in the world, it's a million times worse for us, regardless of if there's any validity to that at all. Which, when you sit down and think about it, you got to think about it in twofold. Number one, it's like, okay, well, I guess black people are accountable for nothing, right? Like we don't have control over anything. Things just happen to us and we just sit here and we're victims for the rest of time, which if anybody knows me knows that that's probably among the more annoying things that I have heard in my entire life. And number two, the people who have unequivocally had the black vote and support from the black community for the past 60 years or so know that they can do anything that they want to insult this community because they bank on nothing changing when November comes, right? It'll be like clockwork. And I've said it before, right? It doesn't matter who you vote for. I vote for who I vote for, but I try to do it as best as I possibly can without all the theatrics involved, right? It's hard to avoid it, but it's like, I'm going to look at your policy, and if I F with it, well, then we're good. If I don't, well, then I'm going to look somewhere else. But this is why it's dangerous to pledge allegiance to a specific party or a specific side without looking at the full landscape of this stuff. Because it's like clockwork, bro. It was the literal script that they read through during COVID, right? It is, if people aren't going to do what we want them to do, well, then we're going to pull the black card, right? Which is, COVID is just messing with black people like it's nobody's business, right? Is now COVID is racist. So if you're not going to do what it is that we're telling you to do, well, then you just got to feel even worse about yourself because you're hurting black people, and that's not okay. The black card is plan B. It's plan B, dog. Any initiative that they want to put forth, they will try and they will claw tooth and nail to get people to go in whichever direction they want them to go or do whatever it is that they want them to do. And if it's not working the way that they expect it, bam, the weather's racist, viruses are racist, natural disasters are racist. I mean, you name it. The craziest stuff is now all of a sudden racist, and it just targets black people. So when you see stuff like this, just begin to question the motives behind it, right? Initiatives such as climate change, right? And vaccines and you name it, right? They've all been pushed forever, right? And now more recently, stuff like this has been ramping up. And regardless of how you feel about it, it's clear that they just want undeniable support and backing from just about everybody. And when they don't get it, well, then they go to this. And at that point, you got to sit back and ask yourself, is this a real issue? Or are these douchebags just trying to use something that they know has worked for so long? Because, like, come on, you couldn't have made it any more obvious. You could have used a different background, right? But you started off hot, right? And then you just kept going. We got the African-esque background, check. The weather is racist toward black people, check. It's like, come on, dog. Like, this is crazy. Am I surprised? No. But it's the same song and dance that they do all the time, and then I end up regurgitating the same thing that I say all the time, which I'll say forever, is you don't have to vote a certain way just because you're black. Now, if you vote that way and you're cool with it, then fine, but you don't have to do it because you're black. And hopefully no one's putting a gun to your head and telling you to swing that way. But if people start, like complaining about it, or they start feeling a certain type of way, well, F them, right? Because this is the biggest, I mean, it's not the biggest, I've seen more, but this just falls in line with the various slaps in the face, right? Of just using this community as a way to push forth any initiative that they want to put forth. Because guess what? They're going to convince everyone that the weather's racist toward black people. People are going to start recycling more than ever, right? They're going to sell their cars with internal combustion engines, and everything's going to be electric. Tell me, how many of those companies are going to work with the United States government or any factories who produce these parts to get the cost down to make these cars more affordable, right? If you really care about this stuff, because the fact is, when it comes to earners, African Americans trail every other race in this country by a country mile, despite the fact that we spend an egregious amount on quote-unquote goods and services, code for things we don't need, but that's neither here nor there. But I guarantee you that the government, these companies, they wouldn't do anything, right, to promote that at all. But you say one wrong thing about them, and they're going to hack into your car and turn that mug off. This is just the direction that the world is going in, right? And it's important for people to be aware of it, because these people have no conscience, bro. They don't, right? They will go to any lengths to get what they want. And if they find success digging in a certain well, they'll just keep going at it. So keep that in mind next time someone tries to look you in your face and tell you that the weather is racist. Now that is something to think about.